Hey everybody, welcome to another GMG review. Today I'm taking a look at the Psychic Awakening, Phoenix Rising from Games Workshop. This is the latest supplement. I don't want to call it a campaign book because it's not really a campaign book. This is sort of a new format book. It's not really like Vigilus 1 and Vigilus 2, adding new rules for the Eldari, the Drukhari, and the Aeneid, which are the three sort of like factions plus the coalesced faction for the Eldar. Now, I don't really know what to call this book because it doesn't do what Vigilus 1 and Vigilus 2 did, but at the same time kind of does. It focuses on a single sort of like keyword faction, which in this case is Eldari, and lifts up and gives a whole bunch more options to those units. It also makes a few models. You've got brand new Jane Czar after, good God, Jane Czar is from the probably late 80s, from the yellow, no, not from the yellow book, probably from the early 90s. Jess Goodwin's called from back then. And finally some plastic aspect warriors that aren't dire Avengers, which is super exciting. The plastic Howling Banshees as well. And then finally we have a plastic Drazar Master of Blades, and some plastic Incubi, which are lovely new miniatures that have lovely new rules. And so the rules for them will actually replace the rules for them from the 2017 Codex Craftworld Eldar. I think it's just Codex Craftworlds, maybe. I can't remember if it was Craftworld Eldar or not. Craftworld Eldar was a 3rd edition Codex though. And then from the 2018 Drukhari Codex too. So those are, they're basically updates to those codexes, and if you do play those factions, you're gonna wanna have this book, because it's just, it's a codex update really, and then kind of bringing the Ynarri into like full like Ynarri mode. So it's almost a supplement codex. It does spend a great deal of time. I will do a flip through at the beginning here, talking about just what's been going on. So I think actually in this book, the introduction is probably the one of the better ones I've read in the last little while, just for saying what sort of like the goal of the book is. And it's just telling you what's going on in the galaxy since the Cicatrix Maledictarum, or what they call it, which is the, it's got a different word, it's the Dethedian, and from the Eldar's perspective, what that means. And just kind of bringing the timeline for the Eldar up to the current 8th edition. Everything's bad, there's Psychers everywhere, there's, psych power bleeding everywhere from the Cicatrix Maledictarum, or the Dethedian as they're calling it in the Eldar, and sort of like where they're at right now. And it's interesting because we do have the bonus of having one of the armies that's featured in here in a big key way in the Craftworlds, which is the Yanden. And the Yanden are kind of they're the all-in ones. So to give you a sort of a nickel tour of like the background, if you haven't been keeping up with the Eldar, basically a Corsair captain who becomes sort of the prophet of this new sort of like religion or path for the Eldar, which is the Ynarri, has like a vision and gets reborn, and realizes there's the Whispering God, the God of Death, who's still kind of around, because for most of 40k it's been assumed that all the Eldar gods, with the exception of like the fragments Kalamach Kane, that are on the Craftworlds and become the Avatar, and the Laughing God who goes and hides, were devoured by Slaanesh. But apparently the Whispering God is the one God that's still around, but he's sleeping and slumbering, and if all the Eldar die, there'll be enough souls basically to wake him up, and he'll go and destroy Slaanesh. And the idea is that they could actually defeat Slaanesh once and for all, She Who Thirsts can be banished, and the Eldar could be reborn as a brand new race after their death god is powered up by all their souls to go and fight them. And so it basically divides most of the Eldar race, even amongst their own factions, and it gave Workshop an excuse to basically build a faction that was all of the Eldar kind of jammed together, because they all believed in this like death cult. And it was led by 3 characters, one of whom is like the Avatar, the Aeneid, and then there's Ivrain and the something Tark, the leader man. They're the 3 that, it's not Artark, it's something like that. It's the Vizark, I think. It's in my head. And they basically are like the character cadre for building a faction out of the other 2 Eldar factions, the Drukhari and the Eldari. So if you haven't been paying attention, there's your nickel tour. And to bring it up to date, Eldar hatches a plan like Eldar always does. The Death Watch go and screw it up because the Death Watch, the Imperium can't stop messing with stuff. And the god only comes like half awake, and it half sort of like wakes up. The Cicatrix Maledictarum happens, it doesn't get stopped. And now they're still basically of the belief that if all the Eldar die, that they can wake up this Whispering God, and the Whispering God will go kill Slaanesh, and it'll all be okay. And half the Eldar kind of are into it, and half the Eldar aren't. But Yvraine and her little cadre of like superheroes, it's kind of like Captain America: Civil War. They're off in Wakanda trying to rally the troops to go and do a fight, and I don't know. And I'm running out of references here. And that's really what the first half of this book is about. So bring up to date on the Dethedian, what they believe the big Citrix Magic Storm is, and what it's doing to them, because they're so psychic, it's like everybody's got a headache basically. The Ancient and the New, so the old version of like how the Eldar were surviving, basically, which is the Craftworlds, putting everybody's soul in an infinity circuit and putting them on ice, and the Eldar, or the Drukhari, basically feeding other people's souls. What the map looks like, where all the major Craftworlds are, how some of them are all split off and not doing so good. So like way over there in Mymeria, it's kind of on its own. And here's Yandin, which has been rescued like a bunch of times. Biel-Tan, which is all jacked up because its infinity circuit got shattered because of an invasion. That's how the Aeneid was born. And then over here, oh no, wait, that's Biel-Tan. Which one's this one? That's a Latok, sorry. That's Biel-Tan over there. And yeah, and then like a big conglomeration of them over here in Segmentum Solar, hanging out all together. And then yeah, the Hunter Unleashed. So hey, the story of Slaanesh, the fate of the Craftworlds, and how they all got jacked up and blown away. Ulthway's Mercy, the Wrath of Komarov. Vect's not into this, by the way. Vect, the thing with Vect is he'll never be into it like any plan that's not Vect's. So when the Death Cult happens, Vect is like, he can't openly say like no, because the people that are supporting this will then turn against him, but he's like using cat's paws basically to fight Yvraine and try and make it all not work, because it just threatens his power base. And then a Yandin, who've been like basically jacked up over and over again to the point where there's almost none of them left. They've basically decided to go all in on this whole plan of people gonna die. And the Harlequins doing what Harlequins do, laugh in the face of death. There's the Ynarri, which is it always bothered me that it looks weirdly Slaanesh-y. Like it has like a horn and like it's kind of not, I don't know. It's not, it doesn't look trustworthy. That's all I'm gonna say. And then missions. And so really this is the biggest add-on like kind of globally. So if you're not an Eldar player, then this would be something you could get to play with. But mostly this book is probably for Eldar players. You have a new Theater of War and Necro War mission, and it's a Maiden World. So the Maiden Worlds are the worlds where there was Extradites surviving, and they were basically at the very edge of Eldar civilization, or even past it, when the fall happened, when Slaanesh was born, and everybody got sucked into Slaanesh, basically. Because the Eye of Terror is basically where the heart of the Eldar civilization was before it all went bad. And so the Maiden Worlds are out on the edge, and that's where the Exodites live, and ride dinosaurs, and generally do Canadian things. And so you get a Theater of War set of rules for it, Echoes of War, you get a Sky Strike mission, which is pretty cool, and then some special strats for the Sky Strike mission. You get Bitter Reversal, and again, the strats for that, Confrontation, and that's really it. So 3 new missions if you're into narrative and open play for everybody to play, but with an Eldar theme, because it's all in the Maiden Worlds, and you can use the special training stuff too. And then the Craftworld rules. Now from here it's divided into 3 sections. There's Craftworlds, then there's a Drukhari section, and then there's an Ynarri section for putting it all together when it's done. So for the Eldari, what do you get out of this book? Well, you get updated data sheets, so you're gonna get new point values for Janzar, Banshees, and their war gear. So Janzar is 115 points, and she's armed with a Executioner, which is 7 points. And then, I don't know why, but her other thing, the Silent Death, isn't on here. But I assume it's 0 points. It usually is. Named special weapons are usually 0 points. So I assume it's just including her war gear. Oh, sorry, Jane says including war gear. Never mind. You don't have to worry about that, because that one actually includes war gear. Howling Banshees are 9 without any war gear, and you have to buy them. Usually a Shuriken Pistol, which is 0, and a Power Sword, which is 4. So they end up being 13 points per model. The Banshee Master 0. And if you want to change out your Exarch's war gear on the Banshees, your Executioner is going to cost 7, your Mirror Swords are going to cost 4. And if you got Triskeli, it's going to cost 6. And then we'll look at the data sheets when we get to them. You get a name generator, which is super sweet, and then you're going to get powers of the Aspect Shrine, which are basically, you can swap out whatever the generic power the Exarch has for that power, or for 1 CP, you can keep their their original power from the data sheet, and you can actually buy them an additional power too. So if you really like your squad leaders, the Exarchs are kind of a cool thing. It's a very 2nd, 3rd edition thing to be able to do this. Because back then, Exarchs were like literally characters, and they were like hero level characters. This is a thing that a lot of you probably won't remember. There was like champions, heroes, and then mighty heroes. Your mighty heroes were typically who were leading your army in like 2nd edition 40k or Rogue Trader. The champion level heroes and the mighty, like the hero level heroes, were like your lieutenants. And Exarchs back then, like your Phoenix Lords were your mighty heroes, and the Exarchs were like these baby heroes. But they were amazing. Like there was like an Eldar Exarch back in 2nd edition could kill like whole armies by themselves. They were really, really good. So it's cool they've added that in. And then Runes of Fortune, they're basically, you can trade Smite for new minor psychic powers. There's a couple there that are really cool. And then Craftworld attributes, which are the build your own Craftworld rules. Basically, if you don't want to use one of the major Craftworlds from the Craftworld Codex, you can create your own Craftworld name and then pick 2 from a list and put them together. And there's some, again, there's some cool power builds in there too. And of course, yeah, got our name generator. Oh, I'm an idiot, I didn't grab a dice. Hang on, I'll be right back. I'm just gonna disappear off the screen. Whoa! I forgot dice. And then I'm back. We have to, because we have to always do this, because GW puts name generators and everything now, I gotta roll a die. So, my Eldar name is, first die, 6, 5. My name is Silgar. And then my second name is 2, 5, Silgar Lalandranoth. Lame. Elf names are lame. So here we go, Jane'Zar. The Jane'Zar action stars. The Jane'Zar Storm of Silence, once killed by First Claw. If you haven't read all of the Aaron Bowden Networks books, go do it. Spoiler, they fight Jane'Zar at the end and mess her up. It's awesome. And then Jane'Zar is, I mean, she's a killing machine. If you're looking for a mid-range killing machine, for 115 points, she's pretty good. 8-inch move. Weapon skill, blitz skill 2+. Strength is 4, wound 6, attacks 4, but maybe not. Leadership 9, and then save 2+. So no invul, but she has Ancient Doom and Battle Focus like normal. Silent Death, and again, she's not paying for these weapons. I missed that part when I read for this the first time. Is 12-inch range, Assault 4, User Strength, and -3 save, 1 damage. So a cool like armor buster for like light, low toughness things. And then the Blade of Destruction, which is just a giant executioner. It's melee, +2 strength, -3 save, D3 damage. And resolving an attack with this weapon, you can reroll the wound roll. So that's nice because she doesn't have hugely high strength, but at strength 6, she's wounding basically everything that's in the game. I don't think there's anything that's toughness 12. I can't think of anything. I think even Bastions are toughness 10. Yeah, she's doing everything on 5s for the most part, and she's rerolling. So, efficient for 5s, that's not bad. And then Acrobatic. This model can be chosen, and the Banshee said this too. Can be chosen to charge if it even with it. Sorry, this model can be chosen to charge with even if it charge with. It's an awkward sentence. This model can be chosen to charge with even if it advanced this turn. There we go. I've managed to figure out the rhythm of that sentence. This model advanced this turn. You can choose it to charge if it's within 15 instead of 12 inches and add 3 to the roll. So she gets +3 to charge, and you can charge outside of 12, so within 15, and can even advance and charge. So that's a speedy lady. Storm of Silence, this is the cool one. So she has 4 attacks base, but she can choose to change her attack characteristic to the number of models within 2 inches instead. Enemy models within 2 inches instead. So if she like plows into like a huge unit of Orc Boys and there's like 15 models in range, she just gets 15 attacks because she's bananas fast. She was in a bullet time basically. Banshee Mask, enemies can't fire Overwatch. And then Cry of War Unending. This unit and friendly Howling Banshees within 6. Fight first at the start of the fight phase, even if they didn't charge. If the enemy has units that are charged, then you go back and forth. And then War Shout, when resolving a melee weapon attack hit against this model, subtract 1 from the hit roll. And she's character infantry Phoenix Lord Jane'Zar. She does not have a Craftworld, so you could put her into other Craftworlds, which is cool. And Banshees, movement 8, 3+3+, strength toughness 3, 1 wound, 2 attacks, leadership 8, 4+ save. Exarch's the same except for an extra wound. And then they all got a shuriken pistol and power sword. The Exarch can take other weapons. She can take either mirror swords, Triskeli, or an executioner. And the Triskeli is almost as good as the Silent Death. It's assault 3, strength 4, -2. So it's not strength user this time. It's strength 4, which is strange. Mirror swords are reroll hits and -2 save, just basically power swords, but slightly worse AP. Power swords are power swords, and you can use the Triskelion melee as well. And they got Ancient Doom and Battle Focus, same acrobatic as Jane's same, sorry, not war, it's different war shout though. If this unit contains a Howling Banshee Exarch, when resolving attack made with a melee weapon against this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. So it's not all the time, it's only when the Exarch's still alive. And then Banshee Mask, enemy units cannot fire Overwatch at this unit. Now War Shout is the Exarch power basically that you give up if you're going to buy another Exarch power from the Exarch Shrines. Or if you pay a CP, you can keep it and get an additional one. And let's talk about that right now, how convenient powers the Shrine. So they work exactly as described. If you have an Exarch in your army, they can either trade their power out for one in this list, or they can use a CP to buy it in addition. So for Fire Dragons, you get up Crack Shot. And you can change it for Dragon's Bite. Whilst this unit contains a Fire Dragon Exarch at the start of your shooting phase, you can change the type of characteristic of their fusion guns to Pistol 1. Whew, that's amazing. So basically, you can use your melta guns in melee. Tank Killer, when resolving an attack made with a Fire Pike in this unit's, by this unit's Fire Dragon Exarch against a vehicle, reroll one of the d6s and making a damage roll, so you can reroll a d6. Burning Fists, melee weapons that this unit's Fire Dragon Exarch is equipped with have an armor penetration of -2 and a damage characteristic of 2. When resolving an attack made with this melee weapon in this unit's Fire Dragon Exarch can reroll the wound roll. So reroll the wound, -2 save, and additional damage 2. Swift Step, whilst this unit contains a Fire Dragon Exarch, when this unit advances, you can roll 3d6 and discard 2. Wall of Fire, when this unit fires Overwatch, a Fire Dragon Exarch in this unit equipped with Dragon's Breath Flamer can make a Wall of Fire attack. If he does so, instead of shooting with that model, roll a d6 on a 2+ to take d3 mortal wounds. So you can turn into a mortal wound generator on an Overwatch roll. And then Burning Heat, whilst this unit contains a Fire Dragon Exarch, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against this unit, subtract -1 to hit. So Crack Shot's pretty good, but I mean, all of those are pretty tasty. The pistol ones in melee feels like a good one for being able to charge after you fire. So charging, you know, you shoot a bunch of melta guns into something, don't quite kill it, and then charge it and use them again. Actually, you wouldn't be able to do that on the charge because they're pistols. You'd be able to use them in the subsequent round. So I guess if something charges you, but oh, you can use your melta. You have melta bombs. Never mind. Dire Avengers, they can trade out their what's it called, Battle Fortune, and get Blade Storm. While this unit contains a Dire Avenger Exarch, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon that does not have a grenade type, by a model in this unit, an unmodified roll of 6 scores an additional hit. Defend, while this unit has a Dire Avenger Exarch, basically, yeah, it's while the Exarch's alive for all of these. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon against this unit, it's -1 to hit. Sorry, -1 to the wound roll. Never mind. Stand Firm. While this unit contains a Dire Avenger Exarch, when a morale test is taken for this unit, do not roll the dice. It's automatically passed. Martial Adept. This unit's Dire Avenger Exarch has a weapon skill and skill characteristic of 2+. Shredding Fire. Ranged weapons that do not have the grenade type that this unit's Dire Avenger Exarch is equipped with have an armor penetration of -3, and the abilities text reads dash. So you don't get any abilities, but it's -3 to saves. And then Avenging Strikes. While this unit contains a Dire Avenger Exarch and any models from this unit have been destroyed, when resolving an attack made by a model in this unit, add 1 to the hit and wound roll. So +1 to hit and wound when someone's dead. Then Dark Reapers can give up, again, they have the same Crack Shot ability, which they'll give up. And that's going to be for Rapid Shot, when this unit's Dark Reaper Exarch shoots. Add 1 to the number of attacks made with their ranged weapons to get an extra shot. Rain of Death. While this unit's Reaper Exarch shoots the Tempest Launcher, you can reroll the dice to determine the number of attacks. Grim Visage. While this unit contains a Dark Reaper Exarch, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of the enemy while they're within 6 inches. Long Range Fire. While they contain Dark Reaper Exarch, add 6 to the range characteristic of ranged weapons. Deadly Touch. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this unit's Dark Reaper Exarch, an unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts 2 mortal wounds in addition to any other damage. And then Focused Fire, when this unit's chosen to shoot with, the Dark Reaper Exarch can target a character, even if it's not the closest model, and so long as it's within 18 of that Reaper Exarch. Howling Banshees. So you're going to give up your War Shout ability for Graceful Avoidance, while this model contains a Howling Banshee Exarch. When a model in this unit would lose a wound in the fight phase, roll a d6 and a 5+ is not lost. Piercing Strike. When this unit is chosen to fight with a Howling Banshee Exarch in this unit, it's equipped with an Executioner, can make a Piercing Strike. If they do until the end of the phase, subtract 1 from the attack characteristic and add 3 to the strength characteristic of the Howling Banshee Exarch, and the Exarch has the Executioner has a damage characteristic of 3. Disarming Strike. At the start of the fight phase, you can select one enemy unit within 1 inch of this unit's Howling Banshee Exarch. Subtract 2 from the attack characteristic of that enemy model to a minimum of 1 until the end of the phase. Whirling Blades. Add 1 of the attack characteristic of this unit's Howling Banshee Exarch. If that Howling Banshee Exarch is equipped with Mirror Swords, add 2 instead. Decapitating Strikes. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this unit's Howling Banshee Exarch, an unmodified roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. And Nerve Shredding Shriek. When this unit finishes a charge move, if it includes a Banshee Exarch, you can select 1 enemy within 1 and a 4+, they take D3 mortal wounds, because it explodes your nervous system apparently with shouting. The Swooping Hawks can give up their Herald of Victory ability, or keep it for a CP and get another one. For one of these, Intercept. While this unit contains a Swooping Hawk Exarch, when resolving an attack made by a model in this unit, an enemy unit against an enemy unit can fly, you can reroll the hit roll, so reroll against flyers. Suppressive Fire. When this unit's Swooping Hawk Exarch fires Overwatch enemy unit, subtract 2 from the charge rolls made for that unit until the end of the phase. Exarch Evade. Whilst this unit contains a Swooping Hawk Exarch, models in this unit have a 5+ invul. Rapid Assault. If this unit makes a charge move or was charged this turn, add 2 to the the attack characteristic of this Swooping Hawk Exarch this turn. Fast Shot. Range weapons in this Swooping Hawk Exarch is equipped with have a type characteristic of Assault 6. So the Exarch gets an Assault 6 gun. And then Swooping Barrage. While this unit makes a Swooping Hawk, contains a Swooping Hawk Exarch, add 1 of the rolls made for this unit's Swooping Hawk Grenade Pack ability. Striking Scorpions. They can replace Sustained Attack, or keep it for a CP again, and get another one for Stalker. While this unit contains a Striking Scorpion Exarch and is wholly on or within a terrain feature, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against this unit, subtract 1 from the hit roll. That's pretty cool. Crushing Blow. Add 2 to the strength characteristic of their Exarch. Scorpion's Grasp. When resolving an attack made with a Scorpion Claw by this unit's Striking Scorpion Exarch, an unmodified hit roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound in addition to normal damage. Ambush. While this unit contains a Striking Scorpion Exarch and is wholly on or within a terrain feature, this unit can fight first in the fight phase, and if they charged, if someone else is charged, then alternate. Withdraw. At the end of the fight phase, if this unit contains a Striking Scorpion Exarch and is within 1 inch of enemy models, that unit can make a fallback move up to 6 inches as if it was the movement phase. And then withdraw. Scorpion Sting. Whilst this unit contains a Striking Scorpion Exarch, add 1 to rolls made for their Manda Blaster ability. The Shining Spears. They can replace Expert Hunter, or again keep it for a CP if they're an Exemplar, and get another one. With Withdraw. At the end of the fight phase, if this unit's within 1 inch of if it contains a Shining Spear Exarch, and is within 1 inch of any enemy models, this unit can make a fallback move up to 6, as if it was the movement phase. And then Swooping Dive. While this unit contains a Shining Spear Exarch, when a charge roll is made for this unit, add 1 to the result. Blade Master. A Paragon Saber in this unit's Shining Spear Exarch is damage characteristic of 3. Lancer. When resolving an attack made with a Laser Lance or Star Lance by this Exarch, an unmodified hit roll of 6 is an additional hit. And then Skilled Rider. This unit's Shining Spear Exarch has a 3+ invul against ranged weapons. And Heart Strike. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this unit's Exarch, an unmodified hit roll of 6 inflicts 1 mortal wound on the target in addition to normal damage. And then Crimson Hunters, because of course the airplanes get it too. They get to replace Marksman Eye with Aerial Predator. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by this model against a unit that can fly, add 1 of the damage. Evade, get a 5+ invul. Hawkeye. This model does not suffer the move and fire penalty for heavy weapons. That one's going to be popular. Strafing Assault. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by this model against a unit that cannot fly, reroll wound rolls of 1. Eye of Cain. Resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by this model, the target does not receive cover. And then Aerial Maneuvering. When this model moves, you can pivot up to 180 before you move instead of 190. Those ones are all, of all of these, the Crimson Hunter ones are the most likely to get used, I'm pretty sure, for the Eldar Air Force. Yeah. And then Warp Spiders, you can replace the Iron Resolve ability or keep it for a CP and get another one. With Surprise Assault, while this unit's Exarch, it contains an Exarch, when resolving an attack made with a Death Spinner by a model in this unit, in a turn in which they set up in the battlefield, using the Warp Strike ability, you can reroll the hit roll. Withdraw. At the end of the fight phase, you can fall back if the Exarch's alive, up to 6, as if it was the movement phase. Web of Deceit. Once per battle in your movement phase, if this unit contains a Warp Spider Exarch, it can make a warp jump instead of moving normally. Remove this unit from the battlefield and set it up at the end of the phase, anywhere in the battlefield more than 9 away from enemy models. Spider's Lair. While this unit contains a Warp Spider Exarch and is wholly on or within a terrain feature, when an enemy unit finishes a charge move within 1 inch, roll a d6 on a 3+, they take d3 mortal wounds. Because you run to the monofilamental spider webs, apparently. Flickering Assault. While this unit contains a Warp Spider Exarch, models in this unit can pile in 6 instead of 3. And Spider's Bite. Power Blades. This unit's Warp Spider Exarch is equipped with have a strength characteristic of +1 and damage characteristic of 2. And that's it. So those are all our shrine powers for the Exarchs. And then minor psychic powers, the Runes of Fortune. So instead of knowing a smite power, a Craftworlds Psyker model can instead know one of the powers from this Runes of Fortune discipline, basically. Before the battle, generate the power that they know using the table below. You can either roll a d6 or pick. Of course, you're going to pick. So the first one is Fateful Divergence. Has a warp charge of 4. If manifested, select one friendly Craftworld unit within 6 inches. Until the end of your next psychic phase, you can reroll a single hit wound roll, or save roll. So you buy them a reroll, basically, for 1 die. Witch Strike, I think this is going to be popular on Wraith Seers. Has a warp charge of 4. If manifested until the start of your next psychic phase, add 2 to the damage characteristic of this Psyker's melee weapons. And I'm pretty sure a Wraith Seer can use it, because it's just any Craftworld Psyker. Ghost Walk has a warp charge of 6. If manifested, select a friendly Craftworld unit within 6 inches of the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, you can add 2 to charge rolls for that unit. Crushing Orb has a warp charge of 6. If cast, select one enemy character within 18 invisible, and roll 3d6 for each 5+, take a mortal wound. So you just like crush them in a sphere of shrinking psychic power. Focus Will has a warp charge of 6, and if manifested, select a friendly Craftworld Psyker within 6 inches. Until the end of the phase, even when a Deny the Witch roll is taken for that model, add 2 to the total, so you can reinforce the mind of someone else. And then Impair Senses. Impair Senses is a warp charge value of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the invisible to the Psyker. Until the start of your next psychic phase, when that unit is chosen to shoot with, models in that unit can only target the closest visible enemy unless the target attack is within 18 of the shooting models. So they can pick within 18, but then outside 18, they can only shoot the closest thing. Those look handy. I think Witch Strike might be popular. Crushing Orb could be handy for just sniping characters instead of Smite, because it's kind of still Smite and could be better because it casts easier, and also it's a chance of 3 mortal wounds on a character, but you have to target a character. And it can snipe characters, which is cool. So like you just throw that at Gilliman. Craftworld attributes. Okay, so here we go. So this is, instead of taking one of the Craftworlds from Codex Craftworlds, you could make up your own. And if you do, if your chosen Craftworld does not have an associated Craftworld attribute in Codex Craftworlds, you can create its own attributes by selecting rules from the list below. Unless otherwise stated, your chosen Craftworld has 2 Craftworld attributes from the following list. So you can pick 2 of these. Children of Cain. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon by an aspect warrior with this attribute, on an unmodified wound roll of 6, add 1 to the damage characteristic. Children of Moray Heg. When resolving an attack made by a model with this attribute in a unit with at least half its starting number of models have been destroyed, add 1 to hit roll. For the purpose of this attribute, destroyed models returned to a unit with this attribute are still considered to have been destroyed. So if someone comes back after they died, basically you have to keep track of when you mark them or something when they're dead, because you can have units or models return to the unit and keep the bonus, which is cool. Children of Prophecy. When a psychic test is taken for a model with this attribute, each individual dice roll of 1 is treated as a 2 instead. So 1s become 2s, that's handy. Children of the Open Skies. When a unit with this attribute that can fly advances, add an additional 2 inches to the move characteristic of the models in that unit until the end of the phase. Diviners of Fate. Models with this attribute have a 6+ invul. So your whole Craftworld can just have a 6+ invul. Expert Crafters. When a unit with this attribute fires Overwatch or is chosen to shoot or fight with, you can roll a single hit roll and a single wound roll. Expert Crafters. That's so handy for like an MSU army. Everyone gets to roll a single hit and single wound when they fire Overwatch or chosen to shoot. Grim. When morale test is taken for this unit with this attribute, they can reroll the die. Hail of Doom. Resolving an attack with a shuriken weapon by a model with this attribute against an enemy within 12 inches of that model, improve the armor penetration by 1. This does not affect abilities that the abilities of that shuriken weapon. So a wound roll of 6+ is still resolved AP -3. So it doesn't change any like special abilities, just the fixed AP. Shuriken weapon is any weapon that includes the word shuriken, so pistol, Avenger shuriken, catapult, etc. Or Scorpion's Claws, shooting attack, and any relic that would replace a shuriken weapon like Kurnos' bow. Headstrong, when a charge roll is made for a unit with this attribute, add 1 to the result. Hunters of Ancient Relics, add 1 to the attack characteristic of a model with this attribute while they're within 3 inches of any objective markers. Martial Citizenry, when resolving attack made with a Guardian model with this attribute, reroll hit rolls of 1. Masterful Shots, when resolving an attack made by a model with this attribute, the target does not get covered to its saving throw. Masters of Concealment, when resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon against a unit with this attribute by a model that's more than 12 inches away, that unit is treated as having the benefit of cover. Mobile Fighters, when resolving an attack made by a model with this attribute in a turn where they disembark from a transport, reroll hit rolls of 1. Savage Blades, when resolving an attack with a melee weapon by a model with this attribute in a turn in which they made a charge move, or were charged, or performed a heroic intervention, reroll hit rolls of 1. Strike and Fade, if you select this craftable attribute, you cannot select a second one, so you only get 1. Units with this attribute can charge during a turn in which they fell back. When a model with this attribute that is not within 3 inches of any enemy units makes a consolidation move, it does not have to go towards a close enemy model. So that's one of the ones where you only get a single one. Students of Vol, at the start of each turn, each vehicle in your model with this attribute regains a lost wound. So yeah, that one might be really popular, like an MSU vehicle army or any of the wraiths that have the key vehicle keyword. Superior Shurikens, add 1 to the range characteristic of shuriken weapons models with this attribute that they're equipped with. So again, any shuriken get 4 inches of extra distance. Vengeful Blades, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this attribute against a chaos unit in a turn in which the unit's charged, were charged, performed her intervention, you can roll the hit roll, because I don't like chaos. Warding Runes, when a model with this attribute would lose a wound as a result of a mortal wound, roll a die on a 5+, that wound's not lost. Webway Warriors, the Webway Strike stratagem, see Codex Craftworlds, can be used 1 additional time per battle for each detachment, excluding auxiliary support detachments in your army that contains units with this attribute. The second and any subsequent units of this stratagem can only be used to set up units with this attribute in the Webway. And then Wrath the Dead, when resolving an attack made by a Wraith construct with this attribute, reroll a wound roll of 1. So you reroll wound rolls of 1 with Wrath the Dead. Wrath the Dead and Students of Vault might be very popular together. And we're on to Drukhari. So there we go. That was all our Eldari stuff. Let's talk about the Dark Eldar. So what are you going to get in here? Well, you're going to get new data sheets. So we're getting new data sheets for Drazar and the Incubi. There's 120 points for Drazar and 16 for Incubi. Their weapons cost nothing. And new Drukhari obsessions. So if you're playing Drukhari and you want to either make your own witch cult, your own Homunculus Coven, or your own Cabal, you've got a whole list of things to do in there as well. So you can do the same thing. And what's my Drukhari name? It's 31 Gnesu 12 and Gathri. Gnesu and Gathri. It's just Nesu. It's probably a silent G, but I'm not going to say it silently. I'm just going to butcher it. What do we got, Drazar? Well, he's baby Janzar, and slightly better Janzar, maybe. 7-inch move, 2+2+, strength, toughness 4, 6 wounds, attacks 4, leadership 9, and a 2+ save. Again, no involves in this guy. And he's got Demiclaves, Executioner's Demiclaves, which are melee, +1 strength, -3 save, 2 damage. Or if you use them dually, then it's user strength, -2 save, 2 damage, and you get 2 additional attacks. Gets power from pain, of course, murderous assault. If this model made a charge move this turn, you can choose to fight with this model an additional time. So you get 2 attacks, two rounds of fighting with him. Lethal precision, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this model, an unmodified wound roll of 6 adds 2 to the damage characteristic of that weapon for this attack. So they become damage 4, which could be bonkers if you're fighting something that's got lots of wounds. Eternal Warrior, oh, he does have 5+ invulse, sorry. He does. Eternal Warrior, 5+ invulse save. Tormentors, when a morale test is taken for an enemy unit within 6 inches of any Incubi units from your army, the result of that morale test is equal to the highest leadership characteristic of that enemy unit. The test is failed and 1 model flees. Basically, if you tie the morale, 1 guy goes. And then Master Blades, add 1 to wound rolls for friendly Incubi while they're within 6 inches of this model. And the Incubi, also 7-inch move, 3+3+, with a strength toughness of 3, 1 wound, 3 attacks, leadership 8, and 3+ save. And the Clivex has a 2+ to hit for weapon skill and 2 wounds, and additional attack and additional leadership. And the Demiclaves basically are kind of the same idea as the big guy. which is a single blade is +1 to hit, or sorry, +1 to strength and -3 save with 1 damage. And dual blades are -2 save, user strength, 1 damage, but get 2 additional attacks. And the Clavex can be equipped with demi-claves instead of 1 clave. So the clave is just the standard +1 strength, -3 save, 1 damage. Have power from pain, lethal precision, same as Drazar, and Tormentors, same as Drazar. And they are Eldari, Drukhari, Incubi, Infantry. All right, obsessions. So you're gonna get, I think you get like 8 for each of these. So some ways to like tailor if you want to do your own little thing. You can tailor up your cult, your cabal, or your coven. So for the cabals, and again, this is if you're Battleforged. You're not a Drukhari detachment though if you have any Ynarri units, unless it's the characters. So remember, you got to be a Drukhari, basically coven, cabal, witch cult, whatever, if you want to pick these. So Dark Mirth is for the cabals. Subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of enemy units while they're within 6 inches of any units from your army with this obsession. The first time an enemy unit with fails morale test in the battle, add 1 to the leadership characteristic of models from your army with this obsession until the end of that battle. So you have +1 leadership as soon as somebody runs away because you don't like them. And you laugh. Deadly Deceivers. Units with this obsession can charge in a turn in which they fell back. When an enemy unit finishes a charge move within 1 inch of any units with this obsession, roll 1d6 on a 6, they take a mortal wound. Disdain for lesser beings. That's a great name for a power. When a morale test is taken for a unit with this obsession, no more than 1 model can flee. So you never have more than 1 guy run away from morale, because you just think you're better than everyone else. Meticulous Flayers. Units with this obsession that have the power from pain ability always benefit from the Eager to Flay bonus, even during the first battle round. When resolving an attack with a melee weapon by a model with this obsession against a vehicle or a unit that's not a vehicle or Titanic, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds, no roll. They get old Warhammer poison. Mobile Raiders. Add 3 to the move characteristic of models with this obsession that can fly. Soulbound. When a near to suffering roll is made for a model with this obsession, reroll a roll of 1. Units from this obsession that do not have the power from pain ability instead engage in near to suffering. So you always get it. Toxin Crafters. When resolving an attack made with a poison weapon by a model with this obsession, on a modified wound roll of 6, add 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon for that attack. This does not apply to Artifacts Cruelty. For the purpose of this obsession, a poison weapon is any weapon that has the poison weapon ability. Webway Raiders. The Webway Portal stratagem can be used 1 additional time per battle for each attachment, excluding auxiliary attachments, blah, blah. Same as the Eldar one. Witch Cult Obsessions. Acrobatic Display. If you select this Witch Cult Obsession, you cannot select a second, whilst this model with this obsession that has an invulnerable save is within 1 inch of any enemy units. Improve its invulnerable save by 1 to a maximum of 3+. So a 4+ becomes a 3+. While a model with this obsession that does not have an invulnerable save is within 1 inch of any enemy units, it gets a 6+ invul. The Art of Pain. Whilst units with this obsession that have the power from pain ability are within 1 inch of any enemy units, they treat the current battle run as being 1 higher than it actually is. Berserk Fugue. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this obsession that made a charge move, was charged, performed heroic intervention, a modified roll of 6 to hit, scores additional hit. You cannot select this obsession if you've already taken the Precise Killer's obsession, so you can't double down. Precise Killers. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this obsession, an unmodified wound roll of 6 improves the armor penetration of that weapon by 1. You cannot select this with Berserk Fugue. So you can either get double hits or extra AP. You can't have both. Slash and Impact. After a model with this obsession finishes a charge move, you can select 1 enemy infantry, biker, or monster unit within 1 inch and roll a d6. On a 5+, take a mortal wound. Stimulant Innovators. When the Hyperstim Backlash stratagem is used on a unit with this obsession, it only costs 1 CP instead of 2. Because they're just good at making drugs. I mean, I guess. Somebody has to be. Test the skill when resolving attack made with a model with this obsession against a monster vehicle unit, in which any models have a wound characteristic of 10 or more, add 1 to the wound roll. Trophy Takers. When your opponent takes a morale test for a unit in which any models were destroyed as a result of an attack made with a melee weapon by a model with this obsession this turn, they must roll 2d6 and discard the lowest. If they both result in the same, discard either of them. So yeah, you cut some pieces off the people you've been chopping up. And then we're on a Homunculus Coven Obsessions, Artists of Flesh. If you select this Homunculus Coven Obsession, you cannot select a second, so you only get this one. When resolving attack against a unit with this obsession, subtract 1 from the damage characteristic of the weapons making that attack. That's awesome. Dark Harvest, after a unit with this obsession finishes a charge move, for each model in this unit, you can select one enemy unit within 1 inch of that model. On a 5+, the enemy unit suffers a mortal wound. Dark Technomancers. When a unit with this obsession fires Overwatch or is chosen to fight with, you can choose to enhance any or all of their ranged weapons models that unit are equipped with. If you do so until the end of the phase, when resolving an attack made with that weapon, add 1 to the wound roll and 1 to the damage characteristic of that weapon. If any unmodified wound rolls of 1 are made for attacks with an enhanced weapon, the model firing it suffers a mortal wound after shooting that weapon. So basically, you make crazy juiced up guns that might explode. Experimental Creations, add 1 to the strength characteristic of all models with this obsession. When resolving an attack made with a poison weapon by a model with this obsession against a unit that has a lower toughness characteristic than the attacking model, add 1 to the wound roll. For the purpose of this obsession, a poison weapon is aimed with the poison ability. Hungry for Flesh, when a charge roll is made for a unit with this obsession, add 1 to the result. Masters of Mutagens, when resolving an attack made with a poison weapon by a model with this obsession against a unit that is not a vehicle or titanic, an unmodified hit roll of 6 automatically scores a hit and successfully wounds. Do not apply to artifacts cruelty. Mass Torturers, when the Torturer's craft stratagem is used, it costs 1 instead of 2. And then Obsessive Collectors, when an enemy model is destroyed as a result of an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in a unit from your army with this obsession, you can select 1 model in that unit to regain D3 lost wounds. If the attack model is a rack, you can set it return to D3 destroyed models to that unit, replacing them on the battlefield in unit coherency. That's awesome. And then it's the Ynarri. Alright, so what are the Ynarri getting? Well, if your army's battle-forged, you can include Yvrain, the Vizark, and Incarn, and any Craftworld, Harlequin, or Drukhari detachment as defined in their respective codexes. Providing that the detachment does not include any of the following units. Any Eldar unit named characters other than Yvrain, the Vizark, or Incarn, any Mandrakes, the Avatar, Solitaires, or any Homunculus Coven units. Yvrain, the Vizark, and the Incarn can be included in such a detachment even if a rule, the Battle Brothers Match Play rules, states that every unit in the detachment must be from the same faction and that the faction cannot be Eldari. If Yvrain, the Vizark, and Incarn are included in a Craftworld, Harlequins, or Drukhari detachment, you can choose for that detachment to either remain a Craftworld, Harlequin, or Drukhari detachment, or make them an Ynarri detachment. If you choose for the detachment to remain a Craftworld, Harlequin, Drukhari detachment, then Yvrain, Vizark, or the Incarn can be included in that detachment without preventing any of the following detachment abilities. The Path of War, Craftworld attributes, Vanguards of the Dark City, Raiding Force, Drukhari Obsessions, Defenders of the Black Library, Mask Forms. Note that Yvrain, the Vizark, and Incarn do not benefit from these themselves. If you choose for the detachment to become an Ynarri detachment, then units in that detachment gain the Ynarri keyword. The detachment is no longer considered to be a Craftworld, Harlequin, or Drukhari detachment and cannot use their respective detachment abilities, stratagems, warlord traits, relics, psychic powers, or tactical objectives. Also note that you cannot use Craftworlds, Harlequins, and Drukhari stratagems or psychic powers to affect Ynarri units from your army, even though they have the appropriate keyword. You cannot use a Craftworld stratagem to affect an Azariani unit from your army that has the Ynarri keyword. You cannot use a psychic power to affect a friendly Azariani unit that has the Ynarri keyword, etc. In addition, replace every instance of Craftworld, Cabal, Witch Cult, Mask on the data sheets of the Ynarri units with the appropriate keyword from the table below. So Craftworld become Reborn Azariani, Cabal become Reborn Drukhari, Witch Cult become Reborn Drukhari, and Mask become Reborn Harlequins. So they're basically removing all of the abilities for you to like cross-pollinate your strats, your relics, and your psychic powers. So no more taking just an Ynarri detachment and then a bunch of like Eldari detachments and then having them feed stuff into that detachment or vice versa. They get the Psychers of the Reborn. Instead of knowing powers from the Runes of Battle, Runes of Fate, or Phantasmancy discipline, Ynarri Psychers know powers from the Revenant discipline, which is new. Abilities. If your army is battle-forged, all troops in the Ynarri detachment gain the Reclaim the Galaxy ability. In addition to if your army is battle-forged, all Ynarri units other than Beast, Incubi, and Scourge units in the Ynarri ability gain the Strength from Death ability. So Reclaim the Galaxy. A unit with this ability that's within range of an objective marker controls it even if there's more enemy models in range. If an enemy unit within range of this objective marker has a similar ability, then it is controlled by the player who has the most models. And yeah, it's your troops units that are going to get that. And then Strength from Death, when a unit's destroyed, units from your army with this ability draw Strength from Death until the end of the turn. If a unit is drawing Strength from Death, that unit fights first in the fight phase, even if it did not charge. If the enemy has units that have charged, and then go back and forth. Resolving attack made with a melee weapon by a model that's drawing Strength from Death, and that has made a charge move this turn, or has another ability that allows it to fight first, add 1 to the hit roll. And then new point values. The Vizark is 80, the Incarn is 280, and the Ivrain is 115, including all their work here. So Ivrain, the old pirate queen who became the cult leader for this crazy death cult that the Eldar is now like sucked into, basically. Ivrain's got an 8-inch move, 2+2+, strength toughness 3, 5 wounds, attacks 4, leadership's 9, and a 6+ save. And she has Kavir, the Sword of Swords, a Croneworld sword. So these are the swords they're getting back from the worlds that are in the Eye of Terror, the Croneworlds they're trying to reclaim. It's strength +1, -2 save, D3 damage. And she has Strength from Death. She's the Herald of the Aeneid. When another Eldari model is slain within 6 inches, roll a die. On a 4+, the model regains a lost wound. If that model was a Psyker, you can immediately generate 1 additional Psych power from this model to know from this Revenant Discipline. So she gets wounds back when people die, and learns new Psych powers when they die if they're Psychers. She has a Rune Suit for a 4+ Invul save. She's a Grinx Familiar, or Gyrinx, depending on how you want to pronounce that made-up animal name. When a Psych test or Deny the Witch test is taken for this model, add 1. And then Revered Figurehead. This model can embark aboard any Eldari transport, regardless of that model's transport restrictions. And then she knows she can attempt to manifest 2 Psych powers and deny 1. She knows Smite and 2 Psych powers from the Revenant Discipline. And she is Eldari Ynarri and character infantry Psyker Ivrain. The Vizark. It's funny. I love his model because he's kind of half Dark Eldar, half Eldar in the way he's like sculpted and painted. He's 8-inch move, 2+2+, strength toughness 3, 5 wounds, attacks 5, leadership 9, 3+ save. And he's equipped with Azavar, the Sword of Silent Screams. It's +2 strength, -3 save, D3 damage. If a model of the unit, in a unit are destroyed as a result of an attack with this weapon, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of that unit until the end of the turn, because they hear silent screaming. He's got Strength from Death. He is a champion of Aeneid, so does the same thing. If someone dies nearby on a 4+, they get a wound back. And if they're a character, they get an extra attack. Wade the Blade, reroll hit rolls of 1 for attacks made with melee weapons by friendly Ynarri models within 6 inches of this model. The Warden of Ivrain, if a friendly Ivrain model within 3 inches of this model will lose any wounds as a result of an attack made against that model. This model can attempt to intercept the attack. Roll a d6 on a 2+, the model does not lose those wounds, and this unit suffers a mortal wound for each one. He's got a Force Shield for a 4+ Invul, and then he's a Revered Figurehead. Again, he can get any transport. And then it's the weird smoke monster, the Incarn. Looking vaguely Slaneshi. I'm not into it. I'm not into that weird big horn growing out of your face there, bud. You're not looking super trustworthy. It's got the Incarn is movement 8, 2+2+, strength toughness 6, 9 wounds, attack 6, leadership 9, and 3+ save. It's got Vilith Zar, the Sword of Souls. It's user strength -4, d6 damage. When resolving attack with this weapon, you can reroll the wound roll. And then Strength from Death, Demonic Avatar. It's got a 4+ Invul. I don't like that word. Demonic. It's demonic. Inevitable Death. When you set up this model, it can be set up in the waiting, rather than on the battlefield. If it is, when another unit is destroyed after removing the last model from play, you can set up this model as close as possible to the previous position of that model, more than 1 inch away from enemy models. This model cannot charge in a turn in which it was set up in this manner. Blessing of the Whispering Gods. When a friendly Ynarri unit within 6 inches of this model would lose a wound, roll a d6, and on a 6+, it's not lost. Summoned by Death. When another unit is destroyed after removing the last model from that unit from play, you can remove this model from the battlefield and set it up as close as possible to the previous position of that model, more than 1 inch away. This model cannot charge in that turn. Aeneid Stirs. When a morale test is taken for a friendly Ynarri unit within 6 inches of that model, do not roll for the dice, it's automatically passed. And Avatar of Aeneid, when another Eldar model is destroyed within 6 inches, you can roll d6 and a 4+ to get a wound back, because it sucks up all the wounds. That's a Psyker. It can manifest 2 and deny 1, and it knows Smite and 2 from the Revenant Discipline. And it's a character, monster, demon, fly, Psyker, the Incarn. You get your own stratagems, so sorry, you're not mixing and matching stratagems anymore there, Ynarri players. You get this list instead. And there's 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 17? 17. The first one is a Taste for Death. It's 1 CP. Use a stratagem in the shooting and charge phase. When an enemy unit is destroyed as a result of an attack made with a ranged weapon by an Ynarri model from your army, until the end of the turn, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by a model in that model's unit, add 1 to the hit roll. Whispering Spirits, 2 CPs. Use a stratagem in the morale phase. Before a morale test is taken for enemy units within 1 inch of any Ynarri, until the end of the phase, subtract 2 from the enemy unit's leadership characteristics, so you can make people run away. Because you're spooky and you're whispering. Aeneid's Net, 2 CPs. Use a stratagem at the start of your charge phase. Select 1 Ynarri biker unit from your army that you can charge even if they advanced. United in Death, 2 CPs. Use a stratagem at the start of the fight phase. Select 1 Reborn Azuriani, Reborn Harlequin, or Reborn Drukhari unit from your army. Until the end of that turn, add 1 of the attack characteristic of models in those units while they're drawing Strength from Death. They get +1 attack. Inevitable Fate for 2 CPs. Use a stratagem at the start of your fight phase. Select 1 enemy unit until the end of that phase. When resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by an Ynarri unit from your army against that unit, you can reroll the wound roll. Acolyte of the Aeneid. Use a stratagem before an Ynarri Psyker model from your army attempts to manifest a psych power from the Revenant discipline. Add 3 to the total for that psych test if any enemy units were destroyed this phase, because you're using their soul stuff to make magic. 1 CP for Reborn Together. Use a stratagem at the start of your morale phase. Until the end of the phase, add 2 to the leadership characteristic of Ynarri units from your army while they're within 6 inches of any other friendly Ynarri units. Shrine of the Whispering God for 1 CP. Use a stratagem before the battle. Select up to 3 Ynarri Incubi units from your army. They gain the Strength from Death ability. So they don't normally get it, but you could buy it for them, basically. Artifacts of Death for 1 CP. Use a stratagem before the battle. Your army can have 1 additional Relic of the Aeneid. All of your relics in your army must be given to different models. And then Webway Ambush, 1 or 3 CP. Use a stratagem during deployment. If you spend 1 CP, you can set up 1 Ynarri Infantry, Ynarri, or Ynarri Beast unit, or Biker unit from your army in the Webway. If you spend 3, you can set up to 2 units instead. A unit in your Webway can emerge at the end of any of your movement phases. Set up anywhere in the battlefield it's more than 9 inches away from any enemy models. This stratagem can be used once per battle. And then 1 for Exalted of Aeneid. Use stratagem before the battle. After selecting your Warlord, select 1 Ynarri character model for your army that is not your Warlord and generate 1 Warlord trait for them as well. Must be random, must be unique if randomly generated, so you can pick or roll. Can be used once per battle. And then 2 CPs for Back from the Brink. Use a stratagem in any phase in which an Ynarri infantry character or Ynarri biker character from your army is destroyed. Roll a d6 and a 4+. Return that model to play with d3 wounds remaining as close as possible to its previous position and more than 1 from the enemy. This stratagem cannot be used in the same model more than once per battle, but they can come back. That's bananas. 1 CP for the Great Enemy. Use a stratagem in the fight phase when an Ynarri unit's chosen to fight. Until the end of that phase, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit against a Slaanesh unit, you can reroll the wound roll. 1 CP for Fire and Fade. You can use a stratagem in your shooting phase. After an Ynarri unit from your army shoots, that unit can move to 7 inches as if it was your movement phase, but it cannot advance as part of that move and cannot charge. 2 CPs for Deadly Misdirection. Use a stratagem in your movement phase. When an Ynarri unit from your army falls back, that unit can still shoot and charge. 1 CP for Souls of the Strongest. Use a stratagem in any phase. When your opponent's Warlord is destroyed until the end of the battle, units from your army with the Strength from Death ability draw Strength from Death, even if a unit's not been destroyed that turn. And then Lightning Fast Reactions, 2 CPs. Use a stratagem in the opponent's shooting phase or fight phase when an Ynarri unit in your army with the infantry and or fly keywords chosen as the target of an attack. Until the end of the phase, when resolving attack, subtract -1 from the hit roll. For 2 CPs, you can just buy -1 to hit. It's pretty awesome. And we got Warlord Traits. All right, Warlord Traits. So, Lord of Rebirth. At the start of the battle round, the Warlord regains 1 lost wound. When this Warlord would lose a wound, roll 1 die on a 5+ is not lost. So you don't just, you regenerate a wound and get a 5+ wound shrug. Awesome. Warden of Stroll, a Warden of Souls. Whilst this Warlord is drawing Strength from Death, add 1 of their attack and strength. Walker of Many Paths. Once per turn, when resolving an attack made by this Warlord, you can reroll 1 hit roll and you can reroll 1 wound roll. That's each turn. So you're basically getting up to 2 CPs per turn in rerolls. That's pretty cool. While this Warlord's in the battlefield, you can roll 1d6 for each command point spent on use a stratagem on a 5+. It's refunded, and only 1 can be refunded per battle round. Fear of the Grave, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of models in enemy units while they're within 6 inches of the Warlord. Subtract 2 instead if any enemy units have been destroyed as a result of an attack made by this Warlord this turn. Favorite of Aeneid, when this warlord piles in or consolidates, they can move 6 instead of 3. And Master of Death, when resolving an attack made with a melee weapon by this warlord, an unmodified hit roll of 6 scores an additional hit. I think Walker of Many Paths is probably going to be pretty popular. The Revenant Discipline. Alright, so these are the psychic powers you have. You can't get any other ones from the Craftworlds. This is it. This is what you're taking if you're playing Ynarri. So Gaze of the Aeneid, warp charge 6. If cast, select one enemy unit within 18 invisible, and roll d6. On a 1, that unit takes a mortal wound. 2 to 3, they take d3. On a 6, they take d6 mortal wounds. Storm of Whispers, warp charge 6. If manifested, roll 3d6 for each enemy unit within 6 inches of the Psyker. For every 6, take a mortal wound. Word of the Phoenix, warp charge 5. If manifested, select one friendly Ynarri infantry or biker unit within 18 of the Psyker. If that unit contains a model that has lost any wounds, they regain d3. Otherwise, if any models from that unit have been destroyed, roll d6 on a 4+, return one model from that unit to the battlefield with 1 wound remaining. And it goes in unit currency. Unbind Souls, cast on a 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 of the Psyker until the start of their next Psych phase. When resolving the attack made with a melee weapon by friendly Ynarri model against the enemy unit, you can reroll the wound roll. Shield of Aeneid has a warp charge of 7. If manifested until the start of your next Psych phase, friendly Ynarri units have a 5+ invul within 6 of the Psyker. And Ancestor's Grace has a warp charge of 5. If manifested, select one friendly Ynarri unit within 18 of the Psyker until the start of your next Psych phase. When resolving an attack made with a model in that unit, reroll hit rolls of 1. And you get some relics, you get a few toys, not too many, and tactical objectives for anyone still using those. You're going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of your own very special relics that you can give to your very special, not named characters. Hungering Blade, replaces a Power Sword. Starclave, or Husk Blade. And then gets the following profile, +3 strength, -2, or -3 save, and 2 damage. Resolving attack made with this weapon, unmodified wound roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. The Song of Aeneid, which replaces the Shuriken pistol. It's pistol 3, strength 5, -1, damage 1 with an 18-inch range. That's a crazy Shuriken pistol. And abilities, it's got the usual 6+, includes AP. If any models in this unit are destroyed with an attack made with this weapon during the turn, subtract 1 from the leadership characteristic of that unit until the end of the turn. So it makes an example of you. The Mirror Gaze, when resolving an attack made by a model, made against a model with this relic, it's -1 to hit. So you can just get -1 to hit as a relic, which is pretty sweet. The Soul Snare, once per game. When a model with this relic is chosen to shoot within your shooting phase, that model can throw a Soul Snare instead of shooting. Select an enemy within 6 inches, invisible, and roll d6. On a 2 to 5, they take d3 mortal wounds. On a 6, they take d6 mortal wounds. And that model regains any lost wounds. So if you do d3, they regain up to the number of wounds that you caused. On a 6, you just regain all of your lost wounds, and then you do d6 mortal wounds instead. The Lost Shroud, when resolving an attack made against a model with this relic, have damage inflicted running up. And when a model with this relic would lose wound, roll d6 on a 5+, the wound is not lost. That is amazing. So you half all the damage you take and get a 5+ wound strike against all the wounds that you do take. Korag Hayes Locket. When an enemy is destroyed as a result of an attack made by a model with this relic, add one of that model's move and attack characteristic. So, yeah, I mean, you only got a few, but they all seem pretty good. The Lost Shroud and the Mirror Gaze are both fantastic. -1 to hit and get all your wound, or sorry, get half damage and potentially all your wounds back. And so there we go. There's our look through of the wonderful Phoenix Rising, or as it kind of probably should be called, Codex Ynarri, because that's kind of what we got here. We got some updates for 2 codexes with just like added stuff, like the make your own Craftworld stuff could have been the Craftworld thing. I think we'll probably see that. It feels like that's going to come out as when they do primary books, like the Space Marine book, you know, the Eldar book. We'll see maybe in the Orc book a build your own clan thing. I would not be surprised if at some point that happens, as just like a way of adding another layer of, hey, you can also make up your own stuff. But yeah, no, I think for all our players, this should make them really happy. It updates 2 codexes and then also gives you a way of playing the amalgamated Eldari faction. I think it cleans up a lot of that like cross-pollinated abusive stuff that was floating around. I'm sure that people that enjoy doing that stuff will be unhappy. But just from like a cleaning up, from a game design point of view, you don't want there to be too much of that crossover stuff, because that's where your rules start to break down and gets confusing. So making that nice and well defined and keeping the Ynarri stuff contained to the Ynarri and just saying no, nothing affects these detachments and play a pure detachment if you're going to play this stuff is probably healthier from a game design point of view. So I think it's a great add-on. I don't play Eldar, but I'm going to be playing against him this week because Owen's going to bring his EN in, and we'll try out the new rules in this book, and you'll see it on Wednesday. So I hope you enjoyed this review. We'll see you for more of these in the future. Thanks, I'm Ash. Have a good night. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below so you get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.